My name's Ed Zed. I play in a kind of fractured pop group, I guess is probably the best way I can describe it, called the Casual Sexists, comprised of me and my wife, Varric. And there's a lot of things that go into the melting pot of our band. We just released our first album after resolutely releasing singles for a number of years, because we just love singles and just can't help but just keep churning stuff out, and kind of seemed like doing an album was a little bit too much like hard work, but then when we did it, it was very rewarding, and it's out there now on vinyl, on digital, on CD, on cassette. And it's available from Bandcamp. It's on a label called It's Hurting My Feelings, based here in Brooklyn, where we live. And yeah, it's not bad. That is the $1 million question, isn't it? To be perfectly honest, music to me, I mean, it may sound like a kind of cliched response, but to me, it is my life. Music is such a vital part of who I am, and I think I speak for Varric as well. It is lifeblood. It is. I think if it weren't for music, I would probably be in quite a sorry place. It's helped me enormously when life has been tough at various points down the road. And in all of its facets, it's kind of been there to put an arm around my shoulder and be like, nah, it's all right, you got this.
I like that. I love that. I like that. I like that analogy.
I mean, I come from a bit of a, well, like so many of us, from a bit of a, kind of fractured family background, like like when I was a little kid, probably like 3 or 4, I lived very briefly with the only time that I lived with in a sort of family unit, so to speak, was till I was about 5 years old. And my older brother, he's half brother, and I have a half sister who are quite a lot older than me. They're like 12 and 13 years older than me, respectively. We're both very much into music, and this would have been like the mid 80s. And my brother is a really, really good drummer. And at that time, I really looked up to him, and he would give me records. I remember, like, when I was about, I think, like 4 or 5, he gave me 3 records. He gave me Black Sabbath's Greatest Hits, Dare by the Human League, and the first Iron Maiden album. Okay. So it's an interesting mix, synth pop and metal, and just seeing it, like, he played in bands at the time, and he had like a drum kit set up in his room. And I just thought that was like the coolest instrument to play. And I mean, shortly thereafter, like, my parents got divorced, and then I went to live with my grandma, and I didn't really see, the many members of my family that much for quite a while. But, the seed had kind of been planted at that point. And when I was living with my gran, like, we would just, like, she had like this plastic laundry box, and I would just bash on it with spoons. It was really strange. I mean, like, when I think of how I learned to play music, like, I never had any lessons or anything like that. I mean, it's just odd. I mean, just from listening to records a lot and just hitting stuff, I suppose.
Yeah. How long do you think it took you to kind of, in your journey, how long do you think it kind of took you to feel like you're an accomplished musician? Not in the sense that you're selling records, but like, okay, I kind of understand, music and music theory.
I mean, to be honest with you, Peter, I'm not sure if I've ever achieved that. I'm very much, kind of a dilettante when it comes to the theory side of things, really. I mean, I guess the thing that really did inspire me to become, to get serious about, being a musician, or at least a kind of barbaric entertainer of some kind, I don't know, was punk rock. Which discovered when I was 10 years old, and that really did like turn my life around, and like things have never been the same since. And that's what really inspired me to want to play music myself and form my own band, which I did when I was 11. And but yeah, I mean, it was really just about the feel of it. You know, really, it was just like I wanted to sound this like I play. You know, the way that I play drums is like open-handed, which I guess is a little bit unusual, that style. And I think it's mainly just because I was doing everything I was doing on instinct. And the great thing about punk, of course, is that, you know, it really encourages that. It's just like, you know, even if, you know, you can't play, you know, all that, you should go up and play anyway.
Yeah.
I definitely took that, you know, ethos and ran with it as far as I possibly could. And so it, you know, it took a while for us to really kind of, you know, to write proper songs with anything, you know, approaching a melody or anything. I mean, at first, just would shout and smack things, and you know, my friend had a guitar, and he would just turn the amp up as loud as it would go and just run his fingers up and down the frets. We would just, and we actually did shows like that. We played our first shows when we were both 12 years old at a local youth center, and just made a noise. That was it. And like all of our mates came and like spat at us, and it was gross.
Do you think if you would have been if you would have had some type of formal education, do you think that would have changed your path?
That's a very, very good question, and I contemplate that often. And the truth is, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the answer is yes. It you know, inevitably would have, but I don't know exactly what it would have done. And I think that now, you know, I'd say that drums is the one instrument that I can say I'm good at. The rest, you know, just like
right.
I can play guitar, you know, I can play synths and, you know, things like that reasonably well, but you know, I don't feel like I'm all that competent at any of those things, but I'm competent enough to write songs, and that for me is the main part. And I think eventually I just got too vain to sit behind a drum kit, and I decided I wanted to be the front man. Because I was writing all the songs, I was like, I want to sing them, you know. So I would sing and drum at first, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that because punk was, you know, so inspiring to me, and got inside me to, you know, a point where, you know, it was almost detrimental. I mean, you know, it was just the exclusion of everything else, till I was about 16. And then, you know, it was like, I think I've come as far as I can with this. I really need to start listening to other types of music. And that was when the floodgates opened to so much, you know, shape the, you know, the musical being that I am now. But I wonder if having any kind of training would have made that happen a bit sooner. Again, I mean, I was very much on my own. I mean, just in my familial setting was a bit weird, and you know, as I mentioned before, I was living with my grandma, and she wasn't very well, and you know, it was just all a bit odd, and so there wasn't really that, I guess, the opportunity to really explore those avenues. So I just kind of was like, well, this is what I want to do. I'm just going to muddle through it as best I can.
Well, you know, I kind of imagine it probably would have affected you sonically, at least, like at the bare minimum, because I think when you get taught, and I haven't really taken too many musical lessons, but when you get taught, they kind of introduce you to classical things and just kind of learning the scale. So from that perspective, I think it would have, you know, maybe tweaked you a little bit sonically.
Oh, I'm sure. Which, I mean, probably would have been, you know, would have produced some more interesting results. I mean, you know, I definitely do adhere, you know, to my punk roots and the path that took me on. But you're right. You know, I mean, the stuff that really from that era and place and time that really continues to inspire me now is the kind of the diaspora of punk, like, you know, the kind of post-punk, you know, which is funny because that's become almost like a term for like a certain, you know, it's like a genre in itself, whereas really it wasn't that. It was like the stuff that was inspired by punk, but it's like, you know, it was like the punk kicked a hole in the fence, and then the creative people who kind of crawled through to the other side to see what would be the fresh plains were, and what they could do with that, were the ones that continue to inspire me the most to this day, I think. That's nice to hear. It's good that you're right, it definitely goes a little bit all over the map, and there are so many things that have who have influenced us, and myself and my wife, who's my bandmate.
But I was surprised to hear her, like, she actually kind of raps almost.
Oh yeah. That's her style. Yeah, it's kind of I guess I've always liked the German word for that, the Sprechgesang.
Okay.
Speak singing. Yeah. But it is true. It's definitely is a kind of rapping sort of style, and and that like hip hop, and I mean reggae, dancehall, dub, and stuff have all been like a tremendous influence on us. And I mean, at the time that I was so into punk when I was at school and stuff, all of my mates, none of them liked punk. They all liked jungle and drum and bass, and like UK garage, and all the the kind of those styles that were happening at the time, which back then I just didn't have any time for them at all. I thought it was rubbish, but which is so funny now, because of this, I love that stuff so much now, and it's such a profound influence on us, just as much as punk has, and stuff. But I don't know, I was a stupid kid then, what can I say?
Which this is the thing though, man. I think during our naive stages, like, that just seems like to awaken so much creativity, like, because I think you're not afraid to screw up. Right.
That's true. And that's important. I think if you and I mean, kind of getting back to what you mentioned a few minutes ago, I mean, just in terms of like having the kind of more tutored approach to music, sometimes that can, I mean, as well as opening up so many wonderful avenues, can be detrimental to a certain degree, because it kind of can put you onto rigider path. So I think that learning how to bollocks up in public is
absolutely
an important part.
Absolutely.
I've definitely done a fair bit of that.
When the two of you sit down, do you say to yourself, okay, well, like, tell me how you decided that you're going to create a song? Is it just kind of you pull it out of the sky kind of thing, or you have some type of, you're deliberate with something?
I mean, there's not really a set path exactly. I mean, it can come from a variety of different ways. I mean, sometimes, I mean, Varric said recently, and I feel like this is a really good way to describe the way that we write songs, is that the songs are built rather than written. And I think that because I'm a drummer primarily, and so I'll usually start with the drums, and we'll kind of, and Varric, because she has more of a sort of spoken rapped kind of style, we'll usually, it's quite rhythmic, and so we'll usually like get the beat is all important at the start, and then if like something resembling a melody creeps in there later on, then maybe we'll allow it in, and maybe we won't. I got you. But then at the same time, and we're both like huge fans of pop music of all kinds, and that is something that's like very important to both of us. So we're as much as the kind of more abrasive or dissonant side of things appeals to us, at the core of it, we love pop music. So I think often like when we do the melodies in there, they're often, it's funny, like when we dissect our songs, sometimes if we're like building them in Logic or whatever, and then we like take certain things out, and we're like, oh my god, this sounds like like a 5-year-old wrote. It's like very simple melodies in there.
But that's how pop works, right? Like,
it's true.
That's the gosh, what word am I looking for? That is the hatred of pop, like, because it is very ABC-ish. But the rub is, it's still so good.
Yeah,
it is still so good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's to me, I mean, like, and it's true, you know, a lot of people do, you know, have like a, you know, real kind of contempt for pop.
Right.
And but for me, like pop music, you know, I mean, the clue is in the name. It stands for popular. It's like it's the music of the people. And it, just like any other music, it can be good and it can be bad. And when you get a great pop song, you know, I mean, there is no. I mean, I'm quick to cry, particularly where art is concerned. Like sometimes the mere existence of a great song just destroys me. And you know, I'd say that, you know, at least a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
like just the existence and pop songs sometimes just in the you know the purity of them, it just breaks my heart, you know, and that to me is wonderful. I never ever want to lose that.
Yeah.
It's very important to me. Our album that we just put out earlier this month, that was, it took a while, and then of course, like, you know, COVID, you know, it coincided with that, and you know, kind of so many life changes and all that sort of thing, but it, you know, we're very, very proud of it, and you know, I can't quite believe that it's finally out in the world.
Yeah.
And people seem to really like it, and it's just been very gratifying to finally see the fruits of our efforts. I mean, I think being the sort of inveterate punks that we are, we've always just been like, nah, we'll just do singles, you know, just EPs. You know, we've got these two, you know, like 3 or 4 songs in there. We just want to get them out and then move on. And we've always done that. And, you know, we kind of had this joke about like, yeah, albums are for sellouts. Obviously, we don't really believe that, but we were like, no, we just kind of EPs forever. We were going to do a singles compilation if we ever did an album and call it Perpetual Singles.
That's brilliant. Yeah. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I like that, by the way.
I know. I kind of.
I might steal that from you. I don't. Did you copyright that yet? I might steal that.
You might still do it, even though it wouldn't be as relevant now that we have an actual album. But, so yeah, but I mean, but you know, we've been doing this for a while, and you know, so many folks were like, you know, you really should think about doing an album. It would probably be quite good. And so in the end, we were like, sod it. All right, let's do it. But we didn't. It was, yeah. I mean, some of the songs we had left over from before we decided to make an album, and then the rest of it was written with that in mind, which was interesting because we'd never done that before. It's always been like, this is the song that we're working on at the moment, and we'll run ourselves into the ground doing that until it's finished, and then we'll move on, and you know, whatever's next is next. But it was a very interesting new way to approach songwriting, just having like a goal of being like, no, we are actually writing an album. And it was refreshing. It was very cool. And again, like most of our stuff, the album kind of goes all over the place. But there's definitely, I feel like there is a fairly distinctive sound that is the Casual Sexists that runs through, you know, the whole thing, and you know, I think it is coherent nonetheless. Just about.
The chords are. Have you ever played with FL Studios?
I never have. No.
Well, I think like it's very sophisticated now. I think now like it actually brings up chords for you.
Wow.
So yeah, so like once you go like, you know, you want bing, 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 right? It will give you the alternative chord. Like it will put you in sync and put you in harmony. Like there's not much you have to do. It's really like a lot of you can either put the drum on the 1 or you put the drum on the 4. It's really just pop, click, click, pop, pop. Even if you're not a musician.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is sort of an interesting idea in one sense, but yeah, that's it, but kind of troubling in another.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess it's just a whole new way of looking at music, and not just music, but artistry. And it's like, you know, kind of, you know, and what that means. And, you know, I guess that, you know, there's long been, you know, a lot of backlash against, like, you know, auto-tune, for example, which, you know, I feel like is certainly my earliest memory of that kind of thing, where it's just like the machine is kind of corralling, you know, your performance into, you know, its own, you know, kind of pen, if you will. But again, I mean, I think that, and I remember when that first came out, and it, you know, and it was kind of what it still is, obviously. I mean, it's become as ubiquitous as you know, an 8 now. But there are really creative ways to use that as well. You know, and I've heard it used, you know, amazing. Like, we use auto-tune a little bit in there, you know, kind of here and there, because it's but using it like an instrument rather than just to, you know, be like, oh, you know, we're going to have all of our vocals fit into this thing. It's like, no, it can be its own thing.